Ladies and Germans, how are you all doing today? This is Con Orc and coming to you with some more Company of Heroes 2 1v1 action. This is a submitted replay to me, so thank you very much to both players, first of all, for taking part in this particular submitted Saturday. And let's get to those players. Over here on the eastern side, we do have the UKF forces of Luciano. Luciano is bringing to the fray Advanced Emplacement Regiment, Mobile Assault Regiment, and Special Weapons Regiment. Now, his opponent over here on the western side, playing as the OKW, it is the Blue Trunked Forces of Ergarion. And he's bringing on in Scavenge Doctrine, Feuersturm, and Breakthrough Doctrine. Now, first things first, guys, if the sound levels are a little bit off on this, please forgive me. This is a new recording software. I was getting audio desync issues, which is actually why I didn't post anything yesterday. So please do let me know if sound levels need to be adjusted here. I'm doing the best I can and kind of making sure that it is kind of 100%, but, you know, promises are promises, and I can only do so well on my end. So I need you guys to help me out. In any case, let's get to the game here. Well, we do have 3 infantry sections opening up right now for,
section of Tommies has been trained.
That seems a little loud. 1 second, folks, I'm sorry. Sound, speech volume, let's tone that back a tiny bit. There we go. Try that out for size. Alright, so infantry sections galore coming up for Luciano. He's got 3 already. Ergarion instead opening up with his own kind of Kuppelwagen, while his Sturm Pioneers move around to the south to try to connect this fuel point. We're also going to see ourselves a little bit of a trench opening up over here. And that's kind of interesting by in and of itself. Generally, you don't see a lot of SimCitying out from British players this early on, but that is a very, very good placement on this particular map. The map, of course, is Westwall. You can tell by the dragon's teeth all over the place, and this nice layer of fortifications separating the 50-yard line from both players. Now, a trench right here for something like this Vickers machine gun is a great firing position. You'll see them set up right here and have a field of fire that covers about that great of an area, maybe a little bigger, maybe about that big. I imagine we'll see something like that happening pretty darn soon. Volksgrenadiers are having a slight mini engagement, taking incidental fire from the infantry section, but really not that much to worry about. You know, in the north, though, this is a little bit more worrisome for the Kuppelwagen. Kuppelwagen's going to go down quite a bit in health, with those elite Enfields being a little bit more dangerous than you might think. Of course, in cover combat, they get the increased rate of fire, which is pretty darn good. And with SMLEs already being pretty fantastic weapons, well, you know, infantry sections very early on are quite the fighting force. But a very early truck coming out for Ergarion, and he seems to be needing that. He's not able to tech up just as fast as he wants to, and he's you know, already dropping behind quite a bit in tickets. What's more, Luciano is not going to go for either of those more interesting commanders, instead going for mobile assault. And also already having his platoon command post up in just barely over 3 minutes, so a pretty speedy platoon command post. A little bit less though for Ergarion. I'm kind of hoping to see a little bit more active play out of him as this game progresses. And there we go. There's that Vickers, and it's covering a good chunk of this territory, as you can see right here. I'm surprised these guys aren't already suppressed. But that will allow, actually, Ergarion to get a couple of tickets off his British counterpart. So that's a nice positive thing right there, I would say. In the meantime, though, Kuppelwagen sliding around to the south, picking up the lower strategic points, and definitely allowing him to cut off this munitions point to the south, although he's doing it at the cost of this VP over here as well, so not really the best opportunity in either direction, I would say. Well, 4 minutes in already, it looks like the British might be threatening a triple cap. And they're very, very tech up into bolster infantry squads, and the Volksgrenadiers are going to start dropping off quite a bit in terms of combat efficiency. Though down in the south, we'll see this Kuppelwagen is doing a frustration decaps and taking his own munitions, well, taking the British munitions point. But it does look like the Brits might be able to slide up and pick up the German expansion fuel, and that would be kind of a shock right there. Not a common thing that happens. We are going to see a very, very quick, well, fairly quick tech into Battle Group Headquarters for Ergarion, as well as a medic and this actually is a very quick retreat point upgrade. Now, it's kind of a crapshoot as to say whether or not this is really worth it. That 300 manpower very early on in the game is generally used much more effectively on another infantry squad or machine gun or a light vehicle for that matter. And we're already going to see that Royal Engineer Squad coming on out with an M2 flamethrower. If Ergarion is very observant, he might be able to notice that his opponent has selected Mobile Assault once his territory starts getting captured. But one thing I do actually want to point out is that the positioning of this truck is very, very good, and will only get better, honestly, as he figures out that his opponent has selected Mobile Assault. A big consequence of Mobile Assault is that whole land mattress later on. And this church right here will allow him a fair bit of cover against those barrages. But that Vickers is out. Is that Vickers moved further away from the trench? No, he's still hanging out in that one trench. If he gets up here, the Germans are definitely in trouble. Luckily for Ergarion, that hasn't seemed to have happened yet. Though 6 minutes in, he's already down 100 tickets. That's never a good start for a German player. Especially with the OKW. They ramp up much later, but you have to be aggressive early on. The Royal Engineers continue their charge on forwards, and as I suspected, okay, well, these infantry section has gone and picked up a fuel point over here to the south. And as the Royal Engineers get this back into supply, that's going to be a rough position for the Germans to deal with, though it does look like they're going to be able to push that back. Royal Engineers, in the meantime, do reveal that it's a Mobile Assault command choice, and he does have that already selected as the retreat point. So with the medics there, he's going to be seeing slightly increased reaction times for his infantry. And the only thing I have to watch out for is to see if this church actually gets picked up as a strong point for the enemy. And meanwhile, on the northern side of the map, Sten guns apparently beat a Kubelwagen. And in the south,
The ability is ready now.
well, these guys are not quite happy about this flamethrower right here. Now, this particular material doesn't often get used, but this advanced cover combat is a shockingly good ability. Though it kind of gets overlooked because it's 75 munitions and it doesn't always have the most immediate impact. It's a much more sustained kind of fire point battle.
Enemies trying to take a point from us.
Alright, in the meantime, where are we looking around here? Well, 7.5 minutes in, infantry section sliding in around. My guess is going to be another British position here. And Ergarion just keeps tossing out incendiary grenades whenever he gets the chance. That one coming out on cooldown. They're going to hop outside of that house, though, and indeed they're going to start pounding on that poor Sturm Pioneer squad. But even... Ooh, mines are going down. So there's a mine up here to the north. It looks like there's going to be more mines sliding around here and there. I was going to say, neither player really going for an early light vehicle. An ISG coming out for Ergarion.
Threatening a capture point.
And the MG-34 is actually now in play and doing some good work against this infantry section here, suppressing them and allowing that artillery piece to pound on them. And that's a nice positive step right there. He's got to do something, considering that this bad boy right here, that's basically a boy's anti-tank rifle. You just have to love the detail in this game. Ugh, it's so gorgeous.
The ability is ready now.
In the meantime, okay, so what do the Germans want to pick against this? He could always go Breakthrough Doctrine, but if he's looking to go late game with that Jagdtiger, that's going to be a very, very long time. Assault artillery is also very expensive, considering how often he's using his munitions. Feuersturm Doctrine theoretically could be good. I mean, it could be good. I wouldn't say it's probably the best opportunity here. My guess is he's probably going to go something like Scavenge Doctrine. The Jaegers are always good, the Infiltration Tactic Grenades, and at absolute worst, using something like what's the term I'm looking for here? Using the Infiltration Assault Grenades is always a strong opportunity. You know, on the south, yet again, this infantry section is back in cover and back causing issues for the Sturm Pioneers. These poor guys are down to one model. As soon as they come into the fight, they seem to be pushed right back out. In the meantime, Royal Engineers diving on forward with their a little bit of
Losing a capture point.
hazard removal kits. They're just kind of running around, capturing things, and my guess is we'll probably see another mine or two. 6-pounder coming out for Luciano. My guess is Ergarion will probably start plopping down one himself because he assumes there's going to be some sort of play. Yep, there it is right there. And I am surprised to see that Luciano has not selected any kind of AEC
Point is being overrun.
attempts yet. In fact, he's not even gone and teched up to either one of those. That's very shocking. That almost never happens. Now, what we see, incendiary grenade comes out. A little bit of shake and bake. Good for him, but unfortunately, now that flamethrower is nice and close, it means these Volksgrenadiers need to run or they're going to die. And there they are. They start backing away. That's a good decision there.
Trying to take one of our points.
Ooh, so now there's a mine there. And Sturm Pioneers might be able to threaten these Royal Engineers back quite a bit. But without a lot more assistance, I don't know how well it's going to go for those Royal Engineers. Excuse me, for the Sturm Pioneers. Might even chase them back. Yeah, he's chasing them back quite a bit. Oh no. He's charging on in as well. He's going to hop into this church right here. And unless ergarion is paying attention, these guys have barely any health. They have no reinforcements coming in. He's not paying attention. Oh dear God. Well, first blood to the UKF. Okay. That was unfortunate. In the meantime, Volksgrenadiers having close quarter combat with Luciano's troops over here in the center part of the map, and that's not that so wonderful. 6-pounder coming in as well, but that guy's not going to have a whole lot to choose from. Kind of wondering, will we see this Kubelwagen go back up to the north? I almost hope that he doesn't, because I get the feeling he's going to go and run him into one of these mines. I'm going to follow him for a second, because I get this is going to... Oh my gosh, yeah. He's going to hit something, dude. Okay, so he's decapping one of these things already. And in the south, we will see that the Brits are picking back up a fuel point, or excuse me, the German expansion fuel point, even while these Volksgrenadiers are hunkering down inside this house. Now, where is that sniper? Sniper is shifting on forwards, but the boogeyman doesn't have quite the same kind of effect that most of his brethren seem to as the games move forward. Okay, so he's got this. And there's a oh my gosh, there's a mine right here. So, Kubelwagen, goodbye, my friend. Yep. Yep. So really well played placement on that mine. I was not expecting that to be a legitimate opportunity, but it was. And that sniper doing the thing that he does best, he's encouraging
Your forces have constructed a company command post.
the infantry to just kind of amble into his arc of fire, and indeed you see those guys backing up because of it. ergarion is down quite a bit. He's down almost 300 tickets already. Yikes. Yikes, he's got no fuel to his name. He has no munitions to his name. Poor guy. He's got nothing right now. He's got another squad of Volksgrenadiers coming on in, and he's got a lot of enemy attention shifting forwards here. Kind of some interesting opportunities for cinematic shots, but you see immediately that these troops kind of back away. And that actually brings to mind something I want to point out about this anti-tank gun. So, as great as this anti-tank gun is, Westwall has this unique little brouhaha in the middle part of the field, and you see this machine gun's having the same kind of issue. You can see it very often, these guns putting their rounds into the side of this little hillock separating the two combatants. You have to be really, really careful about that on this map. Looks like a Cromwell's being brought in as well, and ergarion doesn't have nearly anything to combat this. That's just going to get either really, really dead really, really fast, or I think it might be dead really, really fast. Though it doesn't look like we have a fair bit of this replay yet to go. I know you guys can't see this. I block that off for that very reason. We have a fair chunk of this left to go, so I can tell you ergarion has not yet begun to fight, it seems.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points.
Figures has backed up into this particular house. I don't know why. I would say that unless he's getting shelled, which that trench doesn't really support. Okay, he's taken a couple of rounds, but not really that much. Volksgrenadiers in the north grabbing that fuel. Good opportunity there just for some free
Cromwell gun tank
material.
threatening a capture point.
And now that MG34 has come out of this garrison, trooping on forwards himself, I think this is to back up this potential Schwerpanzer headquarters. And while I'm not sure I agree with the placement being this far forwards, he kind of needs to have some sort of fire point. And once again, that SDFKZ, something 250, I think that's the half track behind this. But in any case, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous viewpoint when you think about it. That row, that firing arc right there is now completely in play. We're going to see the Cromwell start to amble on forwards, as well as this armor-piercing sniper. And where's the Rakettenwerfer? Well, he's coming on forwards. He's not quite there yet, but it might be a good idea to pop him inside this house. I'm going to settle this down around again, because I get the feeling that if this Rakettenwerfer goes in this house, that tank really should back away. Okay, so he's in there somewhere. and shockingly seems to be on the second row of the second floor. I'm not sure how. Sniper takes a shot, looking to go and start picking off this guy in that house. Why would still be? I'd be backing up here. I don't. The sniper. I don't. And this is why. Okay, let me try talking through this again. This is why I don't like the armor-piercing sniper that much. While he's really, really good against light vehicles. Oops. Oops. Well, that sniper just bought it because of a Rakettenwerfer round. Kind of brings me back to Band of Brothers. If you want to go see what I'm talking about, watch Karantan, and you'll probably see Rakettenwerfer. One of the only times I've ever seen that in a TV show, or in any kind of media for that matter. But that's why I don't like the British sniper. Dear God, that thing is super, super frail. He has really, really great penetration against light vehicles, but other than that, against infantry, he's practically a liability because he doesn't cloak outside of cover. Rakettenwerfer, in the meantime, now he's got 2 kills to his name. 2 infantry? Yeah, he's killed 2 infantry.
A capture point is being overrun.
And killing that sniper is actually a very, very good opportunity here, because had that sniper gotten forwards, the Schwerpanzer headquarters would have gone down to a pyrotechnic display the likes the world has never seen on this battlefield. But Ergarion is down almost 400 tickets here, so he's got to do something. And he's threatening that right now. He's throwing incendiary grenades over here into this trench, trying to get rid of that. He's going to go and drop down a shoe mine, it looks like, down to the south. And with a hazard removal kit on his Sturm Pioneers, I'm guessing the Royal Engineers mines are going to become less and less of a factor. Another machine gun coming in? I'm not sure I agree with this one. I think one MG34 on this map is fairly much enough. It's not generally as wide as Road to Kharkov, but at the same time, this map is still fairly thin. You're not going to get a lot of kind of flanking play. You can see right here from this anti-tank gun, for example. Let me back up again to the normal viewpoint. He controls a good chunk across the middle part of the field. And really, as you go further and further to the sides, it's largely impassable. But 17 minutes in, 17:30 practically, we finally are seeing tickets fall off of Luciano. But the Brits have themselves some Brens. And when the Brits have Brens, the Gutes Deutsches boys get battered. But down here in the south, that shoe mod has already paid dividends, taking out 2 models from this infantry section and putting them down to about 60% health. Cromwell, in the meantime, is ambling on forward, throwing a couple of rounds ineffectually at this Volksgrenadier squad. And it's probably a good thing. It's a very lucky thing, really, because the Volksgrenadiers are pretty garbage against this guy. And never mind, now we have a Rakettenwerfer lining up on him, and that's going to do some good damage. You don't really realize how great it must be to be a Rakettenwerfer operator when you're getting veterancy. Because look, like one round put him up to about 2/3 of his half point that where he already was in the first place. In the meantime, Royal Engineers sliding on up and throwing flames and fire against these very, very gutsy Sturm Pioneers. We got a deal for them. Yep, they back up as well. But Jaegers are now being called on in. So Ergarion has gone for Scavenger Doctrine. It's a good decision, I think. And he's going to cap out this northern point. So it's going to continue getting rid of those British ticket supplies. Pioneers, in the meantime, pushed back by the ISG, I think. Yeah, that guy's been throwing down rounds like crazy. I'm wondering, are we sitting and waiting to see a Panzer IV coming out? Is Ergarion waiting for a Panther? I was going to say a Panther. Excuse me, a Panzer V. Well, we're not 100% sure. What I do know is now we have a land mattress coming on the field for Luciano, and that's an issue. Because right now, with Ergarion not having any tanks, this guy's got a disproportionate amount of effect if he's able to hit anything whatsoever. Hey, I didn't even notice that MG34 didn't get made after all, so that's a good decision there. Yep, there's a P4. Alright, in the meantime, we'll see that this MG34 is locking down the center position and got a great firing arc, honestly. What's more, okay, so a trench just went down. You heard the little Brit complaint in the background. Another thing to worry about is that this machine gun really does have a pretty good firing lane through the center part of the map. Meanwhile, in the south, with that trench officially gone, yes, the Germans can now easily push back the Brits. Not in the least because of having numbers, but also, and 20 minutes into this game, Luciano is dominating quite a bit across the battle space, but he's not really using his Cromwell that effectively. Not at least because he's got this amazing, no, oops, for some reason I thought it was a comment, but Smoke Shell's nothing to sneeze at either. Allows his troops to get nice and close, and especially, he probably could just run up to the middle part of the field, throw it down right in front of the MG34, and shebang, you got nothing to worry about. Yet again, though, these Royal Engineers are going to run on in and get suppressed any second, I'm sure. One burst of fire, they're already down. Thank you so much to the Shredder Pencil headquarters that just continues to throw rounds in there as well. Land Mattress, though, is starting to get in on the fight, throwing rounds in the center part of the map. Yes, the Cromwell took some rounds from the Rakettenwerfer, but all things considered, not the most effectual barrage in either direction. Will we see these guys get pinned? Or are they going to take this position? MG34 is woefully underpowered in my mind. It suppresses decently fast, but doesn't ever seem to do a ton of damage. Or pin with any kind of alacrity. We are going to see that a lot of the Germans are falling back in disarray. We got two squads of Volkswagen Diaz that are down to just a single model, finally getting reinforced right now. Jaeger is going back, getting damaged as well, and the newest addition to the ranks, this Volkswagen Diaz squad, was very, very quickly down to minimal health. Now, the Empire squad right here is trading shots with his infantry section, decides very wisely to back away. Meanwhile, to the further south, we are going to see that the point's been neutralized, while the Germans neutralize the point in the center part of the map. The question is, will these guys rush on in to pick up this position here, or no? It is worth noting in the meantime as well that Gannon bombs have been given on out, and these things are pretty beastly. If they actually hit tanks, yes, they will immobilize them, and that is an insane amount of damage. Ooh, we're going to see though... Oh, no, okay, incendiary grenade. I thought it was going to be perhaps the infiltration assault, but no, sir. Ooh, but okay, they are going to get forced out of the house at least. Are they going to take damage on retreat? No. No, they're not. And it's going to kind of annoy me the fact that, again, this P4 could have run over them 8 times and would not have done anything. I just continue to gripe, I know sometimes, about that vile Allied tank crush. But it's very, very frustrating to me. Volkswagen's threaten to try to get in on this anti-tank gun, maybe steal it for themselves, but it does not happen. Instead, we're going to see the Jaegers charging on in, throwing out some grenades. A grenade assault, never mind, there goes the Vickers, everybody. So there goes a good chunk of veterancy. In the meantime, this... Oh, okay, and now the MG34 gets taken out as well. So, support weapons on either side going down, and I believe that's a Comet tank coming on in for the Brits. And 23 minutes and 30 seconds in, 67 to 438. You have to give the Brits quite a bit of credit here. In terms of veterancy, well, veterancy is more or less kind of equal, with the whole idea that the Germans do have higher amounts of veterancy, but the Brits just have more of it overall. And these tanks right now are fairly well matched. This one's got a little better veterancy, and indeed this P4's got to back off soon or else. I guess here comes a Faust. Seems to be charging on him for a Faust. I'm not sure it's the greatest idea. It's kind of a waste here. Never mind, he cancels it at the absolute last second. Doesn't have to worry about it too much. But now, this MG34 is going to pay dividends. These guys have just wandered into their field of fire, so super, super lucky here. And these folks in the Diaz are going to back away. Good decision. But with a Comet tank and a Cromwell on the field, you have to be a little bit concerned for the immediate prospects for the Germans. Not the least of which because these guys are just getting hammered so much. He's down, what? He's got 1/7 the tickets? 1/6? Depending on how you want to do math. 1/6 and a half? But Captain Pfeffer in the meantime still down here, and now this Com's going to blunder on into his range of fire. Rear armor hits immediately. Are we going to see that special smoke shell? No, we're not. No, we're not. Which one am I thinking of? One that fires a smoke shell. It's like a napalm round. Is the Cromwell? I can't think of it. But I do know is pretty brutal, I can tell you that much. But alright, so a machine gun crew is rushing back home. Gonna get some more help back into the lane pretty quickly. And up here, we're going to see ourselves... excuse me, down here, from the top of the map for a second, we're going to see ourselves one of those booby traps. So that'd be kind of fun to see next time the Brits go on down there. Try to keep an eye on the minimap. I'll get a quick look for it. P4 is falling back under fire from both the 6-pounder as well as that Cromwell.
Enemy threatening a capture point.
And not surprising, all things considered, he's very much outgunned. The 6-pounder, although I'm malign a lot of the Allied equipment, was a pretty superb anti-tank gun. A little further down, we'll see the Rakettenwerfer is just kind of hiding in plain sight. And, oh dear God. Okay. I thought these guys might have gone out. But no, they make it out alive. They're going to run away from this Comet tank, which is a good decision. And I believe these guys are going to get wrecked by this booby trap. Aw, man, only one guy went down. I was actually hoping for like 2 or 3, but hey, you know what? Again, I am definitely a Deutschophile when it comes to this game. In the meantime, there's now a Jagdpanzer out for the Germans, and while this Cromwell's got a good chunk of veterancy, and the P4 technically has no stars whatsoever, this Jagdpanzer, I think, might be enough to balance it out a wee bit more. Not perfectly, mind you. I mean, this Comet tank is still pretty stinking powerful. And especially when, you know, these guys run across things like mines and cannon bombs, it's kind of a problem, too. Might see a dead squad of engineers. Yes. So actually, that's a flamethrower on the ground. That could be a great pickup. Maybe not for this guy, but for these guys right here. Land Mattress firing things off again, and I believe missing on practically everything. Yeah, hitting a couple incidental rounds here and there, but it's really just doing HP damage. Sherman Pioneers back in base, just reinforcing back up. Bren infantrymen rushing on forward because that's what they do. And while the Brits are looking fairly strong in terms of army composition, they are looking a little bit anemic in terms of raw army size. They only have 3 real squads of line infantry, plus the engineers. Oh my gosh, cannon bomb, these guys are so dead. Goodbye. Yep. The shockwave on that is just beautiful and terrible to behold. Of course, I say that, and now the Germans are roughly the same thing. They have 3 really lines of squads of infantry, 1 of a support, and these support weapons, which are doing pretty well, all things considered. Really, what you have to be worried about is his land matches right here. He can be great, or he can be awful. Now, the 6-pounder's not done a whole lot. He's put a couple of rounds into this P4, and that's about it. So he's really largely non-existent. And now, yep, those Volkswagen Diaz have flamethrower on them, and that is kind of scary, because these guys are fully vetted up, drastically increasing their squad's rate of fire. And 54 to 422, they kind of need to get on their horse a little bit more here. Firefly up in for Luciano, and I'm thinking that Luciano's trying to go for some sort of knockout blow. He kind of has to hurry up about it, though, too. If Ergarion gets the chance to bring in his last truck to start working towards that 200 bajillion fuel, really, for the Königstiege, that could be very, very bad. And really, the longer the OKW goes in this game, if they have any sort of fuel income, they get ridiculously strong. Comet tank is still kind of hanging out over here, not doing a whole lot. Kind of chilling, taking it all in. P4's in the area as well. 8 kills to his name, but he's struggling to get to that first rank of veterancy. Bren shifting on around again, not doing much really going to be done here though either. They're going to rush on in, proc the booby trap, and there we go. This whoops them like crazy. And now we see all 3 tanks moving on. Oh jeez, okay, so let's try to get a better shot of this looking around. So Firefly's engaging the Jagdpanzer. P4's engaging the Comet tank. And where is that Cromwell? Cromwell's engaging the Jagdpanzer as well. Gotta rotate this again, try to keep these guys all in the view. As Cromwell, I think, is blowing it. He's diving way too deep here, my friends. Rear armor hit. If he might take down the Jagdpanzer, but at what cost? Round impacts on in here. Excuse me, the Rakettenwerfer turns around. There we go. 4 stars of veterancy on that guy. P4 does go down. Is he going to turn back around and blow apart the Sherman Firefly? My guess is yes. Jagdpanzer does go down. And round goes out, and yep, there he goes. So that,
They're trying to take it.
wow, so he just got 4 stars and he's already almost to 5, and I don't ever really see a 5-star Kettenwerfer. But my friends, we might be seeing one of those today. And I have to say, the best part about this might be the fact
A capture point
that
is being
Ergarion,
overrun.
he just went up like 40 or 50 fuel in that trade. And definitely has closed the gap. It was suffering quite a bit during the early part of this game by having both points being over on the British side of things. My question is, he's going to try to pick off this land mattress. He's not going to be able to get it, is he? That would have been quite a coup. But no, he's got to just, you know, deal with the fact he's only going to get this position here. But okay, where are we in the game state? 31 minutes in, 53 to 390. While I am just singing the praises of the Germans, it's not really going all their way. Yes, they have a stronger position right now, but their army is still not in the best shape. P4 coming out will change a lot of that, though. So yeah, so 68 to 65, comparable army size, although the composition, of course, is always kind of varied. Cannon bomb going out, so might be able to escape the blast. This guy's probably going to go down. No, he doesn't, shockingly enough. Infantry section instead, getting blown apart by Sturm Pioneers. And these Volksgrenadiers, well, they dropped something like a Bren. I thought I saw a Bren before, actually on the side of this house, but no, I don't think that's going to happen. And indeed, oh geez, someone's going to die.
Enemy threatening a capture point.
Sturm Pioneers rushing back through the squad of Brens. Nope, nothing happens to them. That's interesting. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised, in fact. Infantry section over here, in the meantime, taking incidental fire from that ISG. In fact, there's 2 of them, so it's a newer ISG. The original ISG's got 22 kills. It's just got crazy amounts of veterancy. I'm just surprised by that. Again, one of those rare things you just hardly ever see. Kettenwerfer getting himself in the fight. Rounds impacting against that Comet tank. One more round. 5 stars of veterancy. So this Kettenwerfer is fully vetted up. That thing is ridiculously good. Plus, rate of fire, field awareness, mobile effective range. First strike increases armor penetration and damage. Targeting rate of fire, and they move faster. So, I mean, this thing is a killing machine as long as it's an armored vehicle. I realize it's kind of a silly thing to mention, but as long as it's an armored vehicle, these guys are quite deadly. Okay, we're going to see grenades. Yes, we are. But these grenades just never seem to work. Yep, it's going to fire on out there, and I thought he was going to rush back into it because of that tank, but no. No. Instead, these Jaegers get forced back in a bloody mess. And, did I mention before? Yeah, we lost a squad of Volksgrenadiers over on the German side. Brits holding on to their material with admirable observation. These guys have 34 kills to their name. These guys have 20 some odd, 12.
They're trying to take it.
Diddly squat, and, you know, fairly diddly squat. But the Germans now do have themselves a triple cap, or had a triple cap, until the Royal Engineers just took that northern VP and put it back to a state of nothingness. And with his P4 kind of hanging back in home, not even getting repaired. In fact, finally the Sturm Pioneers are moving on down to repair. Kind of wondering what the plan is. So right now we are going to see these guys are all grouped up, and they're taking crazy losses. That Bren gun is just ridiculously powerful in this area right here. I feel kind of bad for those poor Volksgrenadiers. Not the least because they've just survived like many years of fighting, and now this is what they have to come back to. Jaeger Light's being brought on in, though, and these guys are close in fighting. They're going to take out all these crews almost for sure. Pop. One more model. Yep, model goes down, so that crew is now no longer have any kind of veterancy. Retreat, my friends. Don't you dare die. And an artillery strike being called in on top of that land mattress. Kind of a waste in my mind of 180 munitions, but I guess if you're really trying to make sure you don't go and set that off, I guess that works. And this last model from the section down here to the south gets pushed back. Now, did that howitzer barrage take out the land mattress? Yes, it did. Okay, good. Alright. So making it moderately worthwhile, but the problem with that is another one can be brought in pretty damn quick. And it looks like this machine gun might go down. No, instead, okay, so there is that Willie Pete shell. And that's what it is, okay. was thinking for myself, why the heck did I could not think of where that shell came from? Because I thought it was definitely a combat tank. It's a Vet 1 ability. That thing does crazy amounts of damage. You can see that was a fully full health
We are down to 300 points.
ISG, and while it doesn't necessarily kill, well, main cannon does. While that doesn't necessarily kill, it just blows away all of the health on pretty much anything that goes after it. P4 being flanked right now, though, by another Cromwell, and I'm thinking this is kind of a mistake, because between this Rekettenwerfer, who's just the assassin of, the ages, he would need, like, one shot. Rear armor hit, okay, damage being done, will he go down? One more barrage might do it. Oh my gosh, see, that's such crazy range, my friends. Crazy, crazy range. And with that, the Luciano drops to 50 army supply, and a good hefty chunk of that is engine damaged. Help me out, folks, how much is that? 18, yeah, so about a third is in garbage shape. You got great health, but just like garbage shape otherwise. And frankly, if this Rekettenwerfer gets on forward, he can just start sniping at that Comet and really, really do damage, as opposed to slightly doing damage. And just barely out of range. Okay, so that's very, very lucky for that Comet tank.
Losing a capture point.
ISG, in the meantime, dropping rounds on top of said tank, but not going to do a whole lot of damage. I mean, thinking about it, yeah, 7.5 centimeter rounds. I mean, 75 millimeter rounds are pretty good, but they're all HE as far as I understand it. Nevertheless, 23 kills to his name is nothing to sneeze at. And once again, we're going to see ourselves another infantry section charging back in, getting suppressed before they even get inside the target area. And hopefully, yep, there they go. They get pinned as well. So 37 minutes and 53 to 286. Brits push down in the south, and the flamethrower down here, so another Gannon bomb coming on out. So the question is, will the Germans back away in time? Well, they will, sort of. One model goes down as they pull back, and I'm wondering, oh no, this is not, no, you don't want to be in this spot right here. Two Bren guns, two Bren squads. Yep, gonna blow those guys to pieces. Another Landmatcher's coming on in, so Luciano investing quite a hefty bit there. That's 40 fuel he's not getting back, my friends. And a Jaeger Lights dueling with these Royal Engineers. Not sure it's the greatest option for the Royal Engineers. And Ergarion is going to be bringing in a Panther. Now, you know my feelings about the Panther. I feel the P4 is a comparable tank. So I'm not sure why he waited a little bit extra time to bring in said Panther. You know, but after all, of course, it's his game. That's, you know how I play it. And I get the feeling that this Comet is going to either go down or just limp barely away. Bouncing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so he's going to limp away. P4 in my mind should be diving for this, but I think it's a little bit too late for that. I also would have gone and popped Combat Blitz. That would have been pretty dang good. Okay, but the Land Mattress is brought on, and he's immediately been brought right back off. I think these guys are going to hustle on top of it, though, and recrew it. Yes, they do. Rockets away. Yes, rockets indeed.
Damned enemies trying to take a point from us.
And aiming one more time right back for the support weapons collection over here in the center part of the map. So the P4 is right there, and that's going to be a dead crew. I didn't even see the P4 dive, but it's a good decision right there, with a lot of the infantry still back on around the home sector, and just a single 6-pounder. I think Ergarion actually might have this one largely in the bag. Luciano's not investing in the proper vehicles more than anything else. And now with a Panther and a P4, it'll be a very, very difficult prospect for these infantry to even hold steady against them. And where are these guys? Well, they were repairing, I think, this Comet over here, and he had just gone and popped off an emergency war speed. So anyway, you know, always an interesting decision. Hopping in and behind this Panther, not the greatest place to be. Surprised I'm not seeing a Faust immediately. That'd be a good decision to just slow down that tank and allow the German tanks just to hound it at their leisure. But no, instead we're going to see the other fully vetted up squad of Volksgrenadiers getting charged and churned to pieces by all that automatic weapons fire. And these Strom Pioneers are, for some reason, are trying to repair. That's not a great idea either. They just get shredded. Because if you're trying to repair under fire, I guarantee you that is not a good way to lead your life. But 6 Ponder's been taken out, as has that land mattress, and that's a good victory, I would say, for Ergarion, even at the cost of all that infantry and at the cost of such wounding to his tanks. 50% health, about 65 or 70% health. So well done there.
The capture point is being overrun.
Capture point to the south being overrun. In the north, is there another booby trap? Yes, there is. So Skirmishes shredding that squad, encouraging him delicately, ever so delicately, to back away. Doing some good damage actually to that one as well. And with that, Luciano drops to just a bare 50 army supply. Now, instead of calling in reinforcements, what else could he be calling in? Not Royal Engineers. Again, at this point, I'm kind of wondering why he didn't go and call in an AEC a long time ago. I guess I can kind of understand moving for a Cromwell, but the Cromwell rush doesn't work against somebody who's got Fausts and the ability to bring Rakettenwerfers, which is kind of the, OKW Bailiwick, especially early on. Strom Pioneers are going to exchange some firepower with these engineers, but it's not going to be that scary for him. Incendiary Grenade, of course. No, he doesn't even use that. And lucky for the engineers, actually, they dive out before that round goes off. Rakettenwerfer gets harassed for a couple bursts of firepower, but not really any kind of thing to really be worried about. Meanwhile, in the north, Jaeger Lights are engaging the Royal Engineers, and it's not going to go for the Royal Engineers. They don't have anywhere near the firepower necessary to defeat troops in garrison, and that's only being hammered on home as we watch. And now, okay, so we have ourselves this Comet Tank. He's been hanging on for quite a bit of time. He's got 13 kills, 2 stars of veterancy, practically on his third.
They're trying to take it.
Because this thing is pretty awesome if you ever have infantry charging close. But is he really in good position? I don't think so. He's going to fall under a triple cap yet again. And indeed, if he loses the fuel point to the north, I don't know what he can do. This Panther can just kind of trade fire intermittently. It doesn't really make that much of a big deal. And now with the P4 coming on in, yep, the Cromwell, I don't know if you actually saw it, excuse me, Comet has actually seen it or not, but he's backing away. Never mind, he's noticing that, oops, more playmates than I can handle, and a 2-on-1 is not the kind of threesome that he had in mind. Now, he liked it the other way around when he had a couple of his buddies, but his buddies aren't here to help him out anymore. Ergarion now, in the meantime, calling in his final truck, and why the heck shouldn't he? Working towards that Königstiger, and while the Panther's getting his claws resharpened, it seems the P4's going to sidle on forwards and put a couple of rounds into the attendant infantry that's repairing the Comet. Now, while they have escaped most of the ire, the Comet tank is barely any health left, and were I Ergarion, this would have been the time I would have tossed on the howitzer barrage. Of course, a little difficult to throw it down if you don't have the munis, but there we go. And here we go, guys. Just another example how annoying it is that the Axis tanks have no crush and the Allied ones have crazy crush.
Enemy threatening a
Look at that. It goes through the middle of 2 different squads and nothing happens. Nothing. Nothing. Now, had it been a Firefly, or had it been, heck, a T-34, like, everybody would have died, and it would have been over, just like that. I would snap my fingers, but you guys would just lose the effect, I feel like. Down the south, the last 2 guys, and the squad of Tommies gets taken on out, and a Bren gun is now up for grabs. Awesome for the Germans, terrible for the Brits. And what's more, the Germans do have the entire map pretty much locked down. They don't have the immunity point to the south, or a couple of these strategic points, but they have a trip cap, and they have 2 fully held up tanks. It's got to be a rough position for the Brits.
We're down to 100 points now.
And down to 100 points indeed, 44 minutes and 30 seconds on in. That Schumann has gotten put out just in time, but it just as quickly gets taken out as this Comet tank refuses to be paying the price for that kind of aggression. Now, we will see the Comet trade fire with the P4 and Panther, but I don't know what can be done here. Still a trip cap, and the Germans frankly can just trade their tanks fairly aggressively. They control all the fuel. Booby traps have been triggered in the north, so 2 more Tommies have just gone down. Let's rotate this a little bit more, shall we? Get ourselves some great cinematic shot here. Infantry is just being engaged by the tanks, and why shouldn't they be? Okay, another flamethrower going down. No, a Piat going down, so great opportunity for Stone Pioneers if they want it. But no, instead we're going to see a Cromwell charge on forwards, and the god Rakettenwerfer is still here to engage it, should he be less than completely cautious. He's coming around from the flank, but he doesn't do anything about it. Indeed, that's kind of a bad idea. Really unlucky idea, all things considered. An infantry section picking up a Bren again. So good opportunity there. But 53 to 50, what had been a almost for sure British victory has slipped away further and further and further, and now Ergarion has got the foot on Luciano's throat. This is the reason, guys. This is why you always play things out. It really is. Oh, geez. So the Stern Pioneers have the Piat. They're going to just start putting rounds into the side of this machine gun crew. And the machine gun crew backs away. Good decision there. In the meantime, here come charging on forwards as those Tommies yet again. But with one ISG has been decrewed, but who cares that much when you have all this extra firepower? I mean, you have machine guns, tanks, everything just lofting rounds like crazy. And now this thing as well has mechanics, so even if he loses the Stern Pioneers, he's able to pick up whatever he needs from that Mech Reg headquarters. Now I think it'd be kind of amusing to push out a Stukas because they think that thing would be ridiculous. Just start dropping it down on home base whenever he could. And more Jaeger being called on in back up in the north so they can go and take that position and bring it down to a trip cap yet again. If nothing else, they've got it taken to a 2-0. And that might be just good enough. The Cromwell's coming on up here to harass and just blows apart 2 of them immediately. And that's, again, just annoying as all get out to me. 1 man left. Will he make it out alive? I do not know. I do not know. Panther getting repaired again, though. Those mechanics are just too good. Too good. Okay, so the tanks are charging on in, though. It looks like this might be the last attempt for Luciano's troops. And, wow. Hammered, my friend. He hit a mine or something, so that guy's probably going to go down. Poof. That's 1. Even if the Panther buys it, you know what? That's a giant victory. This is a giant victory for Ergarion. Well done. Well done. He's going to pick this one up, my friends. I think he's going to get it with exactly 48 minutes of play. 53 to 2. 53 to 1. No surrender? Never mind. So 53 to 0. Ergarion pulls out that epic finish. He went down a incredible amount early on. 53, and honestly, coming back when he had 1/6 or 1/7 of the tickets of his opponent really is a credit to him. First of all, thank you so much to Ergarion to actually going and sending this replay in. With a final score of 53 to 0, winner by way of knockout. Congratulations to Ergarion's OKW. Luciano, my friend, you almost had it, but you made a couple of mistakes later in this game that really impacted your ability to wage war. One of those definitely would have been not being aggressive with your Cromwell and following up your attacks. But, either way, well played to Ergarion. So thank you again, Ergarion. Thank you, folks, for tuning in to this particular game. Once again, please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. We always want more members of the clan, and I would not mind having you be a member. But for right now, this is Conor signing off. Take it easy, everybody.